For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We once again begin in Colombia, where the 2-year anniversary of the country's peace talks have passed, with the talks still at a standstill. The FARC's negotiators say they cannot order the freedom of the Army General Ruben Dario Alzate captured by their comrades. President Juan Manuel Santos' government says the peace talks will not resume until the general is freed by the group. Meanwhile, Latin America's longest-running war drags on. One of the principal FARC negotiators, Ivan Marquez, says that the government's blocking of a ceasefire is one of the reasons the talks have stalled.
Obstacles. I think one of them have been the persistence of the government to not allow a bilateral ceasefire, which could avoid more victims by arguing an absurdity the FARC guerrilla has always used ceasefires to strengthen itself politically and militarily. That is not true.
And to Colombia and Bogota we stay, where supporters of Colombia's suspended peace talks have met to demand that negotiations continue. Our correspondent Charles Parkinson reports.
Progressive politicians, NGOs and social groups were joined by members of the public at Bogota's San Martin Plaza on November 19th, the day marking the second anniversary of peace talks between the Colombian government and the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. Attendees called for the reinitiation of talks after President Juan Manuel Santos suspended them in the wake of the FARC's capture of General Ruben Dario Alzate on November 16th.
We're effectively demanding that he be freed, but this general cannot be the reason to kill the hopes of a people that today clamor for peace. We are defending the process, and we are certain that this path that Colombia is on to achieve national reconciliation and needed national reconciliation, and to overcome the cycle of pain we have been sunk in for more than 50 years.
Conflict has cost hundreds of thousands of lives and seen millions displaced, leading many to condemn the decision to suspend talks based on the capture of a single official.
If the process collapses, it's a disgrace. We need there to be peace, we need the conflict to start to de-escalate. It would begin with the Christmas and New Year's treaty to demonstrate to the two sides how an ending of hostilities and a bilateral ceasefire would be.
It will now fall to Santos to act decisively in order to get the talks up and running once more, yet he has remained bullish in refusing to contemplate a ceasefire.
For the people gathered here today, the message is very simple. The peace process has come too far for it to stop now, and for the sake of not creating more than the nearly 7 million victims this country already has, the two teams must return to the negotiating table. Charles Parkinson, Telesur in Bogota, Colombia.
To Mexico now we go, where the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights says that the measures taken by the Mexican authorities to halt forced disappearances have proven ineffective. Meanwhile, discontent with the government continues to be expressed across the country. Speaking on his return from a trip to China and Australia, President Enrique Peña Nieto claimed the aim of the protests is to destabilize the country.
We have noticed that this violent demonstration, hidden behind the sorrow, claim to validate the protests for which sometimes there isn't a clear goal in sight. It seems that instead, they're trying to destabilize and create social disorder, but, most of all, as if they are trying to attack the nation's project that we have been working on.
To Central America and Honduras now, where beauty queen Maria Jose Alvarado has been found shot dead. Authorities have arrested the boyfriend of Miss Trinidad, Plutarco Ruiz, in relation to the crime. Ruiz confessed to shooting the two women and then burying their bodies with the help of an accomplice. According to Honduran National Police, Honduras has the 6th highest rate of feminicide in the world and the world's highest murder rate. Despite heroic efforts by women's rights activists and some government officials in Central America, widespread impunity remains the norm. Taking a look around the world, United States President Barack Obama has announced that he will address the nation tomorrow about his immigration plans. Obama is expected to grant relief from deportation to as many as 5 million undocumented immigrants. It could be a go-it-alone move that deepens the partisan divide with Republicans. But Obama claims the issue has reached a breaking point.
Everybody agrees that our immigration system is broken. Unfortunately, Washington has allowed the problem to fester for too long. And so what I'm going to be laying out is the things that I can do with my lawful authority as president to make the system work better, even as I continue to work with Congress and encourage them to get a bipartisan, comprehensive bill that can solve the entire problem. So, tune in tomorrow night at 8 o'clock here from the White House, where I'm going to be making this announcement. And then Del Sol High School, I will see you on...
Staying in the United States, in Ferguson, Missouri, a grand jury hearing evidence on the Michael Brown shooting is preparing to meet Friday. Here with the latest, here's our correspondent Alexandra Hall.
As residents here in Ferguson and in nearby St. Louis wait eagerly for news from the grand jury on whether or not they will be pressing criminal charges against Darren Wilson for the killing of the 18-year-old unarmed teenager Michael Brown. Governor of Missouri Jay Nixon has come under heavy criticism for declaring a state of emergency ahead of any unrest. Members of the community here say that activating the National Guard has made many people very nervous, and that it could be interpreted as a preemptive confrontation. Meanwhile, religious leaders here in Ferguson say that while it's good that awareness of the social and economic injustices in Ferguson are being discussed, it shouldn't have taken the death of Michael Brown to hold this very important conversation that should have started years ago. In Ferguson, I'm Alexandra Hall for Telesur.
Thanks to Alexandra. Police and protesters have clashed as part of the UK's largest student demonstrations in 4 years. The protesters are demanding free education and an end to tuition fees, education cuts, and student debt. Over 9,000 students from 40 cities marched through central London. Protesters ignored police orders to stand back, and some climbed over the temporary fencing of the police space. Organizers say the protests mark the start of a wave of action that will run up to next year's general election. Haiti has also seen violent clashes in recent days. Anti-government protesters were subject to tear gas and rubber bullets. The date of the march coincided with the Battle of Vertières. That event is credited as an important point to the Haitian road to independence. The protesters are demanding President Martelly's resignation. To Palestine now. After the deaths of 5 people during an attack on a synagogue Tuesday, the already heightened tensions are increasing in the region. Here's our correspondent Noor Harazin.
Late Tuesday night, the Israeli police released 9 relatives of the 2 Palestinians who had carried out attacks and entered a synagogue in Jerusalem, killing 5 Israelis with knives and guns. Israeli police had raided the Al Jabal Mukabbir neighborhood earlier on Tuesday and detained 12 family members of the attackers, Ghassan Abu Jamal and his cousin Uday. A lawyer for the Ad-Damir prisoners' rights group said that police kept 2 brothers of Abu Jamal and the brother of Uday in prison custody. Meanwhile, clashes broke out in the East Jerusalem neighborhood after police refused to return the bodies of the attackers to their families due to the ongoing investigations. An Israeli army spokeswoman said that fire was opened at Israeli forces near the separation barrier in the area, and Israeli forces responded by using an allegedly harmless smoke screen and left the area. Noor Harazin, Telesur TV, Gaza.
And to finish this evening, a new photography exhibition called Humanitarian Tragedy in Eastern Ukraine, Consequences for Europe opened in Madrid, Spain. The exhibition shows graphic photographs showcasing the humanitarian disaster facing those in eastern Ukraine since the conflict began. The event organizer, Vera Radionova, calls the conflict in eastern Ukraine a human catastrophe which the world needs to know about. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.